Welcome everyone. We are still waiting for some more participants for a few minutes and then we will start. And Irina, we're happy that you're also with us now. Perfect. Okay. We are trying out the virtual background today for the first time. Yes. Okay. Welcome everyone to the virtual gallery tour from Goethe-Zentrum Kampala in cooperation with Pilotenküche from Leipzig, Germany and Silhouette Project in Kampala, Uganda. So the virtual gallery tour started last year as an also online edition, and it's meant to bring together Ugandan and German visual artists to exchange points, to talk about their artworks, but also to show a little video of their home studio where they get creative, where they mesmerize their work. And we have a special edition today because we are also cooperating with Silhouette Project, which is a residency for upcoming artists in East Africa and in Africa, based in Kampala. And I'm happy to see people are joining, are entering. I think since last year, 2020, we kind of realized also the possibility of using Zoom to bring together people that are usually not connected or that don't know each other. So we're trying to have this format to, bring communication together, bring artists together who are distant from each other, and also to have a platform for exchange and especially networking. My name is Zina. I am the cultural coordinator of Goethe-Zentrum Kampala. Next to me is Annie, our intern from the cultural department. And we also have Barbara Sommer with us, who's the director of Goethe-Zentrum. And I don't want to say so much more. We have beautiful guests. We have two inspiring artists with us, and we have a moderator. I shortly want to say a few words about. Her name is Lara Buchmann. She's a freelance arts manager, curator, yoga teacher, living and working in Kampala. She studied cultural anthropology and art and cultural studies at the university in Cologne and Bayreuth in Germany. She moved to Kampala and started working at Goethe Zentrum Kampala, also in the position of cultural coordinator. Yeah, since then she has been involved in a number of projects in the art scene and also in the Kampala Art Biennale in 2020. She's currently now the program manager of Silhouette's project I was talking about, and we're very happy to have her with us today. And yeah, I'd like to give my words to Lara, and I wish everyone a very nice event. I am looking forward to the conversations. And for the ones on YouTube, unfortunately, the chat is not really working. So you find in the title the Zoom ID. You can just use to enter the conversation here if you want to ask some questions. Yeah, that's all from my side. Let's start.
Okay, so I'm taking over then. Thank you so much, Sina, for your opening and introduction of me. Thank you. And yeah, thanks for everyone who joined and who's still joining. I'm really happy to be moderating this conversation or this coming together. And yeah, thanks a lot for Goethe for inviting me to moderate. I'm really grateful. I just want to, before we get into the topic, want to share some Zoom rules. So if you're not speaking, please keep yourself muted. And if you do want to contribute, be it questions, comments, or well, anything you'd like to share, basically, you can write in the chat box or just raise your hand with that function in Zoom. I really want it to be a conversation rather than a question and answer game. So obviously the main conversation will be between the two artists that we invited, but please, everyone in the audience, feel free to come up at any point if you feel like that's when you want to contribute. And then, yeah, we'll also have time at the end where we really open up to the audience to ask any questions that might have not fitted into our conversation yet. The topic of today, before I introduce the artists that are here, I'd like to share the topic. And it's a bit broad, and it also came out of a few conversations we had, mainly me, Victoria and Irina, meeting online and slowly getting to know each other. And we realized something amazing. Both artists are working on plants, and it seems like it was planned, but it wasn't. So that will be the main topic. And obviously it's a broad one, but yeah, what it will evolve around is more of how plants reflect in their work, rather in the artistic process or maybe in the work itself. What do plants do in the lives of those two artists? That's what we're interested about today. And preparing this talk, we had a really inspiring conversation where we realized that coming from two different countries, continents, and two completely different art worlds as well in contexts, we realized that so much of what we were talking about had to do with how the art education looked like. The two artists were were getting still or had gone through, and that's both formal and the informal art education. So we're actually going to look at that as well, but more as a backdrop to what we're then going to talk about. Yeah, so Zina also mentioned before that it's a collaboration between not just two artists, but also two institutions. And I just briefly want to talk a bit about that before we get to introducing the artists. The Virtual Gallery Tour series is an initiative by Goethe-Zentrum Kampala, and me as a program manager of Silhouette Projects was approached by Zina whether we would like to be part of that. And yes, of course we wanted to, and we had to find a fitting counterpart in Germany. And it was well, I wouldn't say completely random, but we started out having no clue. We just needed someone who works with young artists, who does residency programs in the best case, but also, you know, is on the same wavelength and is motivated and brings in good energy. So we landed on Pilotenküche from Leipzig. Michelle and Juliane, who are also here, have been our counterparts in the organizing of this event. And just a few words about Pilotenküche. It's an independent art space in Leipzig, Germany, the eastern part of Germany. And it's a space that's, or a space or project that is for artists, by artists. So it's an artist-run space as well. It aims to provide artists with a base to work from, and wants to act as a connecting point between artists and the local art scene, or also upcoming artists. Just like Silhouette Projects, it offers 3 months residency programs, traditionally physical residencies, but recently Pilotenküche also started an online residency program. And apart from that, offers diverse programs, including exhibitions of the resident artists and other events. And then a few words about Silhouette Project. I believe Zina mentioned the most important things. I just wanted to point out a few similarities. Silhouette Project also has a 3 months residency program, physical. It's a bit of a newer program. It started roughly 1 year ago, and runs under Afriat Gallery Kampala, and focuses mainly on very young artists, those that have decided that they want to become artists, but haven't really kicked off their career yet. So we also want to be a connecting point between those artists and the local art scene, and also international and East African and beyond that. So much about the institutions or organizations behind this. And now I would like to introduce Irina Frida, who is one of our 2 artists today. I'm going to just briefly say a few things, but then we're going to watch a short video that Irina prepared to show us a bit about how she works, where she works, what she's working on right now. She was born in 1998 in Uganda, and has been living in Kampala. I realized I don't know if she was born in Kampala. She can tell us that later. But she's based in Kampala now. And she's a final year student at the Margaret Trowell School of Industrial and Fine Arts. She studies Industrial and Fine Arts at Makerere University in Kampala. And just recently, she completed a 3 months residency with Silhouette Projects, and yeah, has still, in a way, a little bit informally part of our mentorship program. And she works with watercolor, acrylic, stencils, and other material on paper and canvas. And conceptually, she is mostly interested in flora and fauna as a source of inspiration in her work. and likes to explore meanings, symbolic meanings, psychic, medicinal? Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, scientific and other characteristics of plants. And what she's recently been interested in is also similarities between plants and humans. She says that plants have souls, so it'd be interesting to talk about that statement more later. So I think Sina, you can go ahead to show the Irina's video.
Yeah, let me do that. Just on a short note, sometimes when you share the screen via Zoom, it could be a bit tricky to follow the whole video. So if you have any complications, you can just use the link I just posted in the chat bar. Yeah, I'm going to share the screen now. Still people entering. Okay.
Welcome to my virtual studio tour, and I'm going to take you around some of the works that I've done and how I work, take you through the process of everything that I go through when I'm working, and it's going to be a short trip. This is my current workspace that I use for printing, painting, and drawing. It's quite big, and I can work on an A1 with this area. The very step I have in my concept making is choosing a plant or identifying plants that I would want to use, basing on their either symbolic, culture, or my meaning about it, because there are also plants that I have meanings for, and how it looks and how it appears and how artistic it could be. So I have to do a little bit of distortion, and that's the very first step I have. These are the materials and mediums that I use. Sometimes I use spray paint to create certain effects, and mostly when I'm printing, I use acrylic paint. Then I work over it with either charcoal, color pencils, or soft pastels to create light and texture, and also give it a little bit of realism. And I use this stencil. It's binding papers, like the top of it, and it's transparent. They come in different colors, but I prefer to use yellow or the white ones that like glass. And the more I work with it, the longer I work with it, the stronger it becomes, because the paint. I'm going to show you the studio space I had with Siloe program, and then I'm also going to show you some of the work I did when I was there. We had two cuts. One is mine, the young one, and the other one is a gallery studio cut that makes it all homey and nice. Yeah.
I'd like to give Irina the chance to say hi.
Hi, Irina Fridovavidia, and thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. And this is the virtual studio tour where you get to ask me anything you want to know about my work and my work process. Yeah. That's
Thanks,
it.
Serena.
Thank you.
Our second artist is from Germany. She's called Victoria Sophie Konzelmann. Let me pronounce it in a German way. She was born in 1988 in Germany, and she's based in Leipzig now. She has a BA in Literature, Arts and Media from the University of Constance, and she studied photography and film at the University of Vigo in Spain. And since 2017, she is at the Academy of Fine Arts in Leipzig. And she's had a number of group shows in Germany, France, and the UK. She's done a couple of residencies. And she is also a visual artist. She works with mixed media, creates installative spaces, objects, collages, and she shares Irina's love for plants and is just as fascinated by plants and nature and organic materials. She has a permaculture garden where she grows plants, and that serves as a source of inspiration, or rather as an experimenting field for her artistic practice. Yeah, that's, I think, as much as I want to say for now. And we'll hear from Victoria after we've seen her little tour.
Okay, let me share the video too.
Hi, I'm Victoria Sophie Konzelmann and I'm a visual artist based in Leipzig, and I'm happy to show you around the places I work at today. And here we are at my garden, where actually a big part of my artistic practice takes place. I hosted a happening with the title Feed the Organism, where I burned all the tree cuttings I had collected last year in an attempt to produce vegetable carbon. And I invited my friends to activate the carbon by peeing on it. It should actually be loose to mix it with the soil in spring and produce really good, nutritious soil for the plants for this year. This is my studio. I love working with macro photography, as it shows those details the bare eye can't see. Here you see another work I'm currently working on, and I hope to finish it within the next weeks. It's a collage that is made of different pictures that I've either collected or photographed myself, and you will find some plants I grew in my garden in it. And it's the second part of a work called Gaia Cycle. This one is the first one. It's called Debunk, and it's about the rise of plant life. And what we see here is the global seed vault on Svalbard, where every country can store crop seeds. Yeah, I really enjoy working with photographic emulsion, and I really like the mistakes we can find here and there. Yeah, that's it for now. See you soon. Hi.
Now we can hear a live hi from Victoria.
Hello to all of you, and thank you for being here. Really looking forward to this talk.
Thank you. So for a start, I'd like to ask a little bit of a broad question to both of you. As I mentioned before, during our conversation, we realized that, well, you've both went through formal art education and you've done a bunch of informal art education, like residencies and well, being mentored and I suppose having a lot of conversations with your peers about your art. And we realized how different it is. And since we have both audience from Uganda and from Germany here, and most likely also from some other parts of the world, I'll just would like to provide people with a bit of a background of where you're coming from artistically. And I would like to pose that question in a very broad sense, so that I'd like you to share what you feel is important and what you think has influenced you as an artist and the way you work and the way you like to create art and what you want the art to look like in the end. And yeah, as broad as it is, you don't have to answer it in a very, very broad sense. Just let us know what sticks out for you. And how your education was that you went through. And keeping in mind that half of the people might have no idea how it was. Who would like to start?
I'll go.
Okay.
So yeah, I started actually in 2015 to study at the HGB, which is the Hochschule für Grafik und Buchkunst, so the Academy of Fine Arts Leipzig. And studies there, they start with 2 years of like elementary studies, which means you're in a fixed class of all those people that just started art school, and you go through all the workshops at that school and you just try out whatever you want to do. So it's quite free actually. And after those 2 years, you get into a specific class, which could be like class for photography. It could also change to painting, for example, depends on what your style of working is. And yeah, you're actually in a class then with people that are about to graduate and people that just come from the elementary studies. So, which is quite cool actually, because we do bi-weekly meetings, like class meetings for a whole day or 2 whole days, and speak about our works or works of artists, or whole oeuvre of artists too. And yeah, it's really nice and interesting to be talking to people who've been studying for 5 years already, for example, when you're just getting into that class. It's quite inspiring. And yeah, about the residencies, I kind of started applying for residencies quite early, just because I like the idea of traveling and getting to another place to work at for a certain amount of time. It's like, yeah, moving and diving into a different kind of reality and working there and also leaving that place again. There's something really special to me about residencies. Yeah, so far from my side.
Thank you. Irina, would you like to share a little bit?
Yes, so from my education background, it was quite different because in Uganda, the art schools that I've been to, there's a lot of grading where everything is done based on the grades, and I don't like experience much freedom when there is like marks to get, and the freedom I experienced in the residency is quite similar to the freedom I had when I was still in secondary school, because I started learning about art when I was 14. I started drawing earlier on and being interested like way early, but then 14, I knew that's when I wanted to be an artist, and everyone was like, that's it. And yeah, and then my teachers during secondary school, they were really encouraging because I had this curiosity about everything and I wanted to do everything. I attended classes that belonged to Form 1s, Form 2s, and Senior 4s. Like if I found a class going on and it pricked my curiosity, I would just dive in. I would ask, can I join this? And most times I'll like go on. But then I expected the same kind of freedom and willingness to engage when I went to campus, and it was so different. Like I was a free spirit in my secondary school, finishing up to university. And then when I get there, it's like tight where you have to think in a certain way because you want these marks. And that kind of shrinked my imagination. I stopped challenging myself at an extent and I got comfortable until I joined the residency. That's when I experienced the curiosity, the need to know that I had when I was younger. And now I feel the need to attend more residencies because it's not marks oriented. It's about growing yourself and where you want to be. Is it enough for you, not enough for another person? And yeah, basically that was it. That was my education journey. So the residency and my secondary school teachers, they are the best two experiences I've had in the art world because of the freedom they gave me and the way I could think on my own with guidance and not in the word again. You know, when you're constricted in a thinking box, but you want to get out. Yeah, so that I experienced, like this box I had been in was just ripped apart when I joined the residency, and it was amazing. It was freeing. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Irina. Yeah, I think this gives us a good backdrop to getting deeper into the topic. Maybe one thing I can add from also my own experience being in both countries and being from Germany and living in Uganda and working in the arts, I realized that art education in Uganda, even like university art education, is a lot more focused on technical teaching and technical skills than conceptual thinking. I always think that is like one of the heaviest differences that someone then carries on, most likely depending on what else they're exposed to. Yeah. So yeah, let's get to the plans. And I'd first like to ask both of you again, what do you find fascinating? Why are you fascinated by plants? Why is it so intriguing to you to think about plants, to work with plants, to touch plants, to research about plants? I don't want to pick anyone who would like to go first. You can just come up.
I can't see Irina, so I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
If she wants to start.
Just go ahead, I think that's fine.
I think I approach materials, any kinds of materials, in a very experimental way. And I like to use a material and then observe it and see how it develops kind of and what comes from it. And plants to me are very fascinating because they have life. I mean, they have so much life within this seed and they just do their thing. They're like, they don't have anything to do with me, the human. Like there's this whole system of light and water and microorganisms which is their ecosystem and what they are working with, and they don't need me at all. So I don't actually play a role in the life of a plant, for example. And I find this, yeah, it's a really nice, yeah, to me it's really nice knowing that it, how do I say that, it doesn't really have to do with me. I can be, yeah, the observer in some way. And I mean, we do live alongside plants like forever. And yeah, they indicate, I don't know what time of year it is, for example. And yeah, I'm interested in something like the idea of a symbiosis. Not, it might sound weird, but I mean it in maybe some utopian way, like not using nature, but also giving something back. So learning from nature, learning from plants, and being able to, yeah, give something back to nature. Like, for example, how I did with yeah, the activated carbon to work with the soil, for example. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, that's it.
Maybe you can explain very briefly what permaculture is and why you're interested in that, because I feel like that's much related to what you've just said.
Yeah, that's actually the core to the whole thing. So permaculture is the idea of having a self-sufficient ecosystem where plants grow alongside each other that actually support other plants. And it's actually the opposite of monoculture, where the whole field of wheat, for example, grows and needs a lot of fertilizer because it just wears out the ground. The idea in permaculture is to put together different plants that support each other and support the soil too. So the soil does not get worn out like, yeah, like in monoculture is the case.
Thank you. Irina, would you like to share? I'd be especially interested in learning more about your statement. Plants have souls.
Well, I use the statement of plants have souls because relating them to human beings, and the true essence of a human being is within their soul. And I believe plants are equally as twisted because there are characteristics they have that humans also have. And the statement is used to capture the true twisted essence of the plants. Because when you Google them, they are parasitic plants just like humans. They are carnivorous plants just like humans, just in a different context, because there are people who take from you or who eat away from you. But then these plants just put it in a literal way that I can literally say this is a plant that's going to eat you. And then I relate that to a person who is either toxic or taking from you. And if I say plants are beautiful, still the human is also beautiful. And we have to like appreciate and embrace everyone in their twisted way. That the most interesting plant that I'm going to start working on is the creeping plants. The creeping plants are like humans. Sometimes you don't want them in your life, but they're just going to creep around, and then before you know it, they are tangled up with you, and you can't entangle it without ripping yourself out of that soil. And I believe if something has character, it has soul. Plants normally, when you, let me give an example of a tree, like there are these big trees in Uganda that when you cut it down, the tree stump is still going to grow like small sprouts. And that is interesting to me because this is like literally killing something. And then it's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. This is where I am supposed to be. So that is like a tree talking. That's a soul. That's energy and strength. That's the power of plants that I believe have them. So when I'm working, I have to look at what these plants go through, what these plants represent to me when I look at it and what has been done previously to them. Because let's take Uganda's forests. They've all almost been cut down, but then they're still there, like they are not going anywhere. It's like when you clear the soil for, I can say, pavements, because there are pavements at home, but still there's always these weeds and certain flowers just sprout of nowhere. It's like, this is all cement, but then I'm going to force my way out of that hard ground. That is like strength that I want to portray when I'm working with plants. That's what inspires me. That's what drives me about them, their strength. And I believe that and humans, according to what we've been through and what we are still going through, we are so similar in our strength, but we as humans tend to neglect the plants, yet the plants never neglect us. They're always, they are going to grow and provide us stuff like food and oxygen and shelter and homes. Like, plants never let us down, but we constantly let down plants. So the passion I have about nature and being surrounded in a world where we are in harmony with the environment and plants, that is like the end game for me. Like, I want to show that when I'm working, I want to show my passion for the plants when I'm working, because these are two things that I love, plants and art. Those are the two things that I know from within, without a doubt, that I love these two things. Like, I can never doubt myself about them. And what way could I show that love, that devotion, except by combining them together? Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you so much, Irina. You've already started talking about your art and how the plants inspire and how they, in a way, act as metaphors. Can you talk a bit more about how do the plants come in? Do they come in as the actual organic material? Do you use them metaphorically or as inspiration?
Okay.
Or any other way?
They normally act as inspiration, and then from them I can draw, add on a little bit of my imagination. Most times the plants I'm working on dictate how the artwork is going to look. If the plant is spiky, then I have to work around that. So the way I work with a plant is I'll get a photograph of it and I'll either exaggerate or distort it a bit. Sometimes I prefer to keep it as realistic as possible, but then when I'm working, I may have like 4 different leaves or stems of the same plant, and then I decide how to handle each like differently. I may distort one, I may just keep it as real as possible with another. And sometimes I use stencils. Most of the times I use stencils. It's one of the consistent things that I've developed. But then there are also other times where I feel I'm going to work with soft pastels on this plant. It's what's going to come out best as. And sometimes I'm going to use color pencils or charcoal and then a little bit of watercolor. But all this, I have to first look at the plant. The plant determines what materials to use. If the plant is going to look best in a certain material, I'm not going to go with another one, because it's also based on gut feelings, because I lay out all my materials and I'm like, plant, talk to me. Which one should I use? And then I'll know, like, I'll just look at the plant, look at my materials, and I'll know I'm going to use this and this. And then if I don't follow what I had decided, most times it turns out a bit frustrating, because I did not see it that way in my mind. I normally look at plant and identify the qualities I see in that plant and how to best portray it.
Thank you. I'd like to pass on that question to Victoria as well. How do plants come in your work, and in your working process mostly?
I think for me, plants function as some kind of, maybe something like a placeholder for, yeah, rather for that massive question of how life actually works and how being together, being on this planet, living, becoming, how all this works. I don't know. I don't get it, and that's working with plants is kind of the easiest way for me to investigate about these questions, I think. And yeah, so having this garden was not intentionally to kind of grow my own art in it. I didn't think it like that. This came in differently, but sometimes things in the garden, for example, happen, and I get to observe something where I think, now somehow I learned something. I didn't know that before, or that's interesting. How, for example, a plant falls over and grows, keeps on growing, and then bends towards the light so it can grow further, and these are super interesting things to me. And then it might happen that I choose this plant, this specific plant, and dry it, for example, and use it as a sculpture. Or there's another plant and I take a photograph of it, speaking about how they react to light, for example, something like that. So it's more about investigating, I guess. And this is one part. And the other part is actually that observing nature, not only plants, but this, by nature, I mean this whole ecosystem we live in, this organic system. Thinking about it, it actually makes me fantasize. It makes me fantasize about how life in the future could be possible. What could we as humans learn from nature? And how could we, create a good future, a healthy future, for example? It's those two things that are like in my mind all the time when being in the garden or working with plants. Yeah.
In our preparation, we spoke actually a lot about curiosity and coincidence and experimenting. And I feel like it reflects so much in both of your work, but in very different ways. I remember that Victoria mentioned something along the lines of curiosity being your driving force, and that you realized you have your permaculture garden because you're curious, like what happens if I do this, and then what if then I do this, and then if that plant does this, what then, and does that also reflect in your artistic work, and or is it even like one and the same?
I guess it's in my artistic practice. It's also one and the same. I mean, it's totally true. Yeah, I think there's so much knowledge we have about the earth and the whole cosmos we live in. And I'm just fascinated by how we actually gained that knowledge about things we can't even see, like tectonic plates movements, for example. And I used to photograph, like I got about, I don't know, probably 1,000 photographs of the oceans, just because I was fascinated by the tides, by waves, by the winds, and all those things that we know about, we can feel it. But I'm a photographer, I have to say too, or I started as a photographer at least. And so I was used to working with my eyes and the things I could actually see. And that actually led me to asking those questions about things I actually can't see and can't catch with my camera. So it's living and working with the garden, experimenting, staying curious, experimenting, and making mistakes and learning from mistakes, or even being surprised. Sorry? Being surprised by mistakes, for example, and grow something new out of mistakes. Yeah, I think that's just the way I work and I live too.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'd like to read a comment by someone from our audience. It's not really a question, but maybe the two of you would like to comment on the comments. It's from DLU. I admire Irina's perspective and feelings about plants. The respect she has is that of a conversationist, preserving and respecting nature as the driving force of our lives. Yet our human activities continue to disrespect and destroy nature. Her great observation of endurance of plants, her great observation of endurance of plants is when you cut down a tree and it sprouts with life again. Life in plants is abundant. Thanks to both of you. I'd like to open up to questions from everyone in the audience for now, or if you'd like to comment on this, please feel free.
I talked so much before, I'll give Irina the word.
Well, Biscuit, I just have to say thank you. Like, it's a compliment. I'm glad.
Are there any questions from the audience? You may raise your hand or type in the chat box. Sina, maybe you can remind us again how people that are watching from YouTube can ask questions.
Yeah, sure. So unfortunately, the chat bar is not working with YouTube, so you have to use the Zoom ID that is in the title to just join this conversation here. But actually, I have a question because we now talked a lot about how you really match within your art perspectives and how you include plants in your artworks. And I would like to know a bit more about your experiences in residencies and maybe also to see how different it is between Uganda and Germany and yeah, maybe even because I know for Irina it was the first time with Silhouette Projects to be in a residency, but yeah, what was your experience? What did you like? And also Victoria can share some experiences to have an insight on that.
Well, for my very first residency, it was very enlightening about the art world. I was still in school, and what I thought I knew and what actually is are two different things. The art that I knew about, or the art world that I knew about, was completely flipped. Now, I believe I would actually enroll in as many residencies as possible. I actually want to find more opportunities to enroll in more residencies because I believe I would learn more. And the Silhouette Project residency was a very charming experience that till now my heart warms whenever I speak about it. There was mentorship and understanding that I had not experienced. There was constructive criticism where a person tells you something negative about your work, but it doesn't come off in a way that's going to so shatter you or destroy your whole day. It just gives you motivation to work harder, to know that you can do better, you can do more, you can even exceed what you thought was your best. Because I was faced with a couple of times that I worked and I thought that was my best, and everyone was like, this is the best you've done so far, and then my next work would even be better. So that made me realize that I had a long way to go, and I had also worked on that long way. Now it was not as far as I thought it would be, but it also opened me up to if this is the best I can do, I know there is more in me to do better. We had the weekends off, so that was time to reflect on yourself. Like, is it this? Like, do you want to actually do this? And you could work either on the weekends or during the week. We didn't have like a strict timetable, but then we found work hours that were good for us. Sometimes we'd stop half day, sometimes we'd do whole day. And sometimes we'd work into the night, not too late, but into the night. And that was like really charming. Let me see what else. Apart from the mentorship that happened and seeing and interacting with other artists who have big names in the art industry and getting to know how they've made it and their journeys, that was also very enlightening. And then also the one-on-ones we had with Daudi and Lara and other mentors who came in, those helped me out a lot because the residency grew me professionally and also enabled me to be able to talk about my work and my concept, know why I'm doing this, and understand myself and where I'm coming from better. Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah, about residencies for me, right? I've had 3 residencies so far, and 2 of them, well, yeah, 2 of them were one in Sweden and one in Switzerland. And those were residencies where I didn't have mentoring or anything. That was space provided where in Switzerland, and in Sweden, my young family then were able just to live and work, and no mentoring or anything like that, no exhibitions or anything like that. And I really enjoyed those places because, as I said in the beginning, it's just like diving into a different kind of life. It's like moving to a house that has a whole history coming with it. And, you know, there have been people living there, and yeah, there's just so much life in these houses, actually. And I really like to get in touch with the history of those places, and again, fantasizing about how life used to be there, or what kind of life do I bring there. And this, yeah, actually always kind of flows into what I produce as art there, like how I work there. And then there was another residency, which unfortunately got cut down last year because of the corona, which was actually a big residency in Germany, which also had a grant coming with it, which actually is, of course, quite helpful. Yeah, but I was there for 3 weeks, and it was a great start because it was a residency where visual artists, writers, and what's the word? People who do compositions, you know, working with music, people working with music, all came together, and was super interesting to speak to people that work in totally different fields. And I really enjoyed that time there, and I was super sad that it got cut. Would have been great. I'm sure there would have been an exhibition coming out just by getting to know those people there. That was awesome. So yeah, I would actually love to just keep going with residencies, because I think by getting to know different people and working together also, that's a big interest of mine. You can just learn so many new things and move around and stay in motion, which is something I really like. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really, really good question to get deeper into those 2 experiences. I'd like to read another one from the chat box from Michelle. She's saying, I like the concept that watching a plant grow is the same as the cosmos. We don't know exactly how either work. We just know they are, but with plants, you can be there and touch them. I can leave it there as just a comment, unless either one of you would like to respond. No? Okay. You'd like to, Irina?
Yeah.
Okay.
When she said something about touching them, I remember the time I grew watermelons for the very first time. It was during the lockdown and we didn't have much going on. So we grow them, and 2 weeks into it, they are like stuck in the ground, they're not coming out. And we are plowing around and keeping them healthy. Then another week passes by and I see the tiniest watermelon. It was only on one plant. And there is so much joy that filled me then, because there is this pride you get when you touch a plant that you've helped grow. And I believe Victoria, as she grows her own plants, when she sees something she put, or when she scatters the seeds and then she sees it grow, there is that fulfillment you get. It's almost as similar as creating a very good art piece. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for saying that, Irina. That's just 100% I'm in. And actually, I've even had that feeling with actually a watermelon this year. It was like this size and it didn't grow further. But yeah, 100%. It's just like, it's magical and pure joy and fun.
I can relate to that. Even though I grow only plants on my balcony. There's a really nice question from Owen Bradley. He's asking, do either of you feel a responsibility as an artist to create work about the negative actions civilization takes against nature? Would someone like to respond?
I do feel that responsibility, though I have to say that in my work, I try to focus on like the positive aspects of life. That does not mean that I don't talk about the negative aspects or the negative aspects don't come in a subline, but I chose to work on the positive utopias kind of. And yeah, go with the good feeling in art. Yeah, which I think the negative aspects always come with the good things too, but the good things provide like a way of maybe getting out of that negativity, whereas only speaking about the negative aspects, you kind of get stuck in those negative aspects. At least for me, it's like that. So yeah, I focus on the positive. I try to.
I can say for sure I had never thought about the negatives, but as I focus on relating the two to human beings, there, of course, those negatives, as Victoria was talking about, that come into play. And sadly, now it saddens me that I had never thought about that until it has been mentioned. I was focusing on the blooming relationships I have in my life and the situations that I experience. So I never really thought about it that way. I just want to create an awareness and appreciation for plants generally. That was what I was aiming for.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and I feel like that is even the fact of you working with plants and looking at them as something that has life and that has soul is already a hint towards telling society not to destroy them and to respect them. Because they are living organisms, just like humans. And yeah. I'd like to first read a comment from Mwesigwa Broken Aaron. And then after that, another question. Mersigua writes, it's very important for artists to create artworks intertwined with their era. And in this era, I'm not sure if I understand, maybe it's a typo. It's very important for artists to create artworks intertwined with their era. And in this era, as a lot of green nature is being destroyed, Irina's narrative brings the answers as to why we should protect the green environment. Plants really do have souls. Thank you, Irina. Oh, sorry. He corrected himself below. He doesn't mean era, but era. Thanks for that comment. A question from Juliane. What kind of plants would you love to have in your studio in an ideal world? And what plant would you avoid?
Ideal plants, everything succulent, everything creeping, everything funny, everything. I don't know. I don't have a plant that I don't agree with. So I think as many plants as possible. At some point, I may have also the fingers that kill plants. So I'm not sure I would be okay to flourish them, but I would try. Yeah, so any plant, but mostly a cactus, a fern, and yeah, those are the main two that I love. Okay, I'll get back to it.
Yeah, it's a tough question. I'm the same. There's not one specific plant that especially in my studio, I would really love to provide fennel with the perfect soil to grow on, actually, because I don't know, I've learned that growing fennel is quite hard, at least in my garden with the background history it has. So I would be happy to grow fennel this year. But apart from that, there's no much variety would be lovely. Yeah. And especially finding plants that I haven't planted, of course.
There's another question from Stefania. Do you have working groups to develop your work? Have you found in your context, which can be your university, your city, your town, more artists sharing these ideas of nature? Do you need a moment to think about this? I can also... No, okay.
No, because I know the answer is no, I haven't yet. I haven't. I would like to. So anyone who wants to join me, you're welcome.
As I give Victoria a moment to think, I saw that our other Victoria, Nabulime, is also here in the audience. And since we had a question about experience of residencies, if she likes to invite her to share a bit about her residency experience at Silhouette Projects. She was together with Irina and they've been working very, very, very closely for 3 months in the studio. Is she here? Okay, either she's not here. Or she would not like to talk. That's fine. Then I pass it on to the other Victoria.
Yeah, I also don't really, I mean, there's people working with plants. There's actually one person also working with a garden. But his interests are, yeah, they are a bit different, but whatever. I mean, it's always nice to speak with him. But no, I would love to get to know more people working in that field. I mean, there's a couple of big artists that do work with this whole ecosystem idea that are inspirational to me. For example, Pierre Huyghe, I really like his work. But yeah, no, at uni, not really, no.
Okay, thank you. There's Sina who would like to know if you have questions to each other. I love this question. So you, Irina and Victoria, would you like to ask each other a question?
I would like to ask Irina a question. I would like to know if you imagine to kind of work with other materials too, or is it that you feel like here I am with drawing and painting and working with the stencils that are super close to the actual plants too? That you kind of want to focus on that, or could you actually imagine to work with other materials too? And if so, what kind of materials could you imagine to work with?
Actually, I constantly think about other materials. Like, I don't want to be limited to only this. So I would want to incorporate the plants themselves. There is a technique that we used to have when we were children where you paste the plant and then there is the transfer of the ink onto the paper and you get that planty feeling. And then there are also other techniques that I may not know many things about, but I have encountered. There is a technique where they use fabric chemicals and then they put it, they put certain plants on top and then that plant comes out. If the cloth is blue, the rest of the plant is going to be either a white or a lighter shade of that blue. So that also intrigues me. Like, I want to handle as many materials as possible. I want to try out with dyes. Recently, actually yesterday night, an idea came into my mind. Now I want to try out with inks. Like, can I do something with ink? Can I create the feel of the microscopic view of a plant using ink? So that is what I'm actually moving on to next after the piece I'm working on. Can I do that? And then I have a certain part of my artwork done in ink and then a drawing or something on top of that to show like the leaf or the plant draining into that microscopic view that I have either searched on the internet. And there are also other techniques that I want to explore. I'm not limited to any materials. I always listen when people are talking about their materials, and I want to see, can I take that and put it in my work? Can I do something with that? So no, I want to do more. There is always the need to do more with me. Yeah, I hope I answered that right. Yeah.
Thank you.
More questions for each other?
I would like to ask Victoria what techniques she uses when she's working, because when a person says photography and technology things, I most times kind of don't understand it. I'm not good with language. So what kind of techniques do you use and how do you come about where you want to place what? And also elaborate on your mistakes that turn out intriguing.
Okay, it's 1 second. I need to think how I'll start, because I use so many materials. That's why I need to think about where to start. But you spoke about the mistakes, and that was when I showed the photographic emulsion. So photographic emulsion is actually a chemical that makes things photosensitive. So this is actually what photographic paper, when working in the dark room, is made of. So you have that, it's a paste, you can use it and put it on any kind of material, could put it on stone, on bark of, for example, too. And I use that because I like that. On the one hand, I like that I can, coming from photography, I can take objects out of their context of a photograph by using this this emulsion. That's the one thing. And the other thing is that it's quite unpredictable. I mean, you can use it and more or less elaborate how to get where you want to get, but you never know if it's going to work, kind of, or if it's going to be like perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And I like this idea that of working with a material that kind of prevents me from doing anything with an approach of perfect somehow. And if I remember right, the question also was how I implement the materials, if I'm not wrong. So it's a tough question. With the photographic emulsion, for example, it's I used it because it's got some alchemistic touch to it. So something like trying something out and being also locked into a certain kind of time. And so I used it to speak about those times, like in the collage we saw before. That's what I'm referring on now in the video. I used the emulsion then to speak about this times of discovery in the 19th century, when biologists and zoologists learned a lot about plant life and animals, and I wanted to refer to that time. So it's actually quite conceptual how I use those techniques or those materials. And then on the other hand, I've also been working with plant dyes. I started doing that last year, and in the first place, I wanted to learn how to use it. And then it's usually like that when I approach a new material, I want to learn how to use it, and then it's there, and then that's okay. And then it's usually going to stay there for a while, and I keep looking at it. And if I like it, in some point, I come up with an idea of how to actually use it for an artwork. But it's again this experimental approach about materials that I kind of keep myself busy with or working with. I hope I answered your questions, Irina.
Okay, thanks for that. Before I ask my last question to the two of you, which is a little bit beyond our discussion, I'd just like to say thank you already, because I feel like we've covered so much and we've touched on so much. And beginning from in a way how you became artists and what you went through in terms of education, but also how you work with plants as a material and how you work with it conceptually, and how you create works from it. And I think those are all things that could be built on, and we could have another 3 hours discussion about all of these. So I think it's great that we all got this food for thought, and and that we're connected now, and it doesn't have to stop here. If anyone from the audience would like to connect with anyone else in this room, then please just reach out to anyone you can find to reach out to, right in the chat, or reach out to Sina I think this is what it's all about, establishing connections and finding like-minded people who would like to work together, think together, and yeah, just have conversations. And another thing I'd like to mention, that a few people have been sharing links of artists that work around the same topic in the chat box. You might want to check that out and copy paste or write it down before we close the meeting. And then my last question, well, actually, it's going to be my last question. Zina also asked the same question to the two of you, would be about this connection, this initiative. First of all, what did you think? What did you expect when you were asked or approached to be part of this exchange? That would be the first question. You can answer them in one if you like. And the second one, would you like to continue, or would you like to stay in touch? Is there anything you already have somewhere floating around in your mind that can come out of this? That would be the last one from my side.
So I learned about the exchange just 1 week and a half ago. So this was quite, short period of time. And I loved the idea to speak to people that actually lived on a whole different continent, to speak about, in the first place, to speak about art, because then I didn't know that, I hadn't known that Irina also works with plants. But yeah, just exchanging experiences is just, that's so precious to me. And yeah, I would love to, need to check out if it's a good idea to actually send seeds, but I would love to send some seeds to Irina, and if it's possible, she can grow some seeds that I have actually grown in my garden, from plants that grew in my garden, and and move them to a different place and have them grown there, and give them to Irina as a present, whatever you want to do with it. Maybe just eat it. It would be a broccoli plant. Yeah, I would love that.
Thank you. Not too bad because I don't have anything for you. But when I first heard about the residency, I didn't know what to expect. I was excited. As soon as Lara said something about it, I was like, I'm on board. Like, I don't care if we have anything in common, I'm on board. It's the cultural differences and the fact that we are both in different places that drew me to Victoria. Like, I wanted to know who this person was as soon as Lara said, I'm going to be in exchange with someone. So she told me when the residence was still going on, and that was like 3 months back. And from 3 months then, I was envisioning someone, and I'm glad it's you, Victoria, because, well, you are as close as my imagination could conquer of someone. But yeah, and then we got to know that we are both working with plants, and I'm like, what are the odds? Like, perfect. So I actually want to stay in contact with you and we keep chatting about our processes, where we are and things we are doing, and become friends, acquaintances, anything you like. I'm awkward. Anyway, yeah, so I'm happy, like, I met you. Though it's online, I'm happy I met you. I'm happy that there's someone out there who is doing something similar to what I'm doing. And it's like, it was a coincidence. I didn't expect it. But yeah, after 3 months of waiting, I got to see you, and I'm glad. Yeah, I don't have a gift for you. But I'll enjoy that broccoli.
No, it's not a gift. No.
Yeah, it's just something we do in Uganda. You give me something, I give you something. Yeah.
No,
Ugandan
you can just
culture.
show me if you can show me a picture of how the plant grew. I'm so happy. If it actually grows, I don't know,
It will grow. I'll
but I
send
guess
you
it
a
will.
picture.
Yeah,
I'll send you a picture with every stage it goes through. I promise.
nice.
If it grows, if it doesn't grow, I'll just show you the soil.
Yeah,
That will do. Yeah.
nice. Such a
Okay.
nice idea.
I love this so much. I'm so happy right now. This is like this is the best ending of a conversation like this I could imagine. Well, though not the ending. We thought it would be nice to see and hear from everyone in the audience before we all part ways virtually. Especially now that only the very committed people that stay until the very end are still around. So 3 questions to everyone who would like to answer them. And maybe turn on the camera while you're speaking so we can see you. First question, what's your name? Second question, where are you at the moment? And the third one, what's your favorite plant?
I would love to. I can unmute myself, but one way or another, the host has the power of my video. Is that? I don't know.
I think Sina is the host.
Yeah, but actually,
Yeah, it's
oh,
unable
okay.
to start
Wait,
video. You can't start your video because the host has
ask you.
stopped it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
last week.
putting some off for the
Okay,
conversation, but
thank you,
now
host.
it's back.
All right.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
So whoever would like to go, please come on, unmute yourself and show us your face. Tell us about you.
Well, I'm Jacqueline. I'm Dutch, but I live in Canada, in Montreal. And I thought it was very interesting and very touching. And one thing that came in my mind, but I already gave the website, a friend of mine from Toronto, Johannes Zitz. He makes a lot of work in nature, and it's not exactly related with plants, but it's related with trees. He is very, very connected. He feels very connected with trees. And what he does is a lot of performative works, and sometimes he will videotape it, and sometimes he will do it live, or he will take some pictures. So that is maybe a nice website to check out. And then a second thing came in mind that I would like to share with you. And maybe you are interested in that, or maybe not. But here in Montreal, we have a group, and it's called L'État Invisible. It's French, and it's, if you translate it, it would be like the invisible task. And this is a Facebook group, you know, and then once in a while we reach out, or somebody says, let's go Friday to that and that environment. And very, very often what we choose are places in the city that are empty places where there are no buildings yet, but where actually plants and all kind of, yeah, I don't know the word in English, onkruid. It's the plants that are not official plants. You know, the plants that people who have a garden say, that's
It's
not
weeds.
plant. Oh, thank you so much.
Weeds.
Sorry, such a long story for a short word. But anyway, so that, you know, let's go to empty places in the city, and then just without talking, set a timer on an hour or maybe 2 hours. We decide that beforehand. And then basically make a performance together where you can totally invest yourself with that empty space solo, but maybe sometimes you have an encounter, maybe sometimes the group picks up a certain energy. And I just want to share that with you, to use that maybe as a possibility. I don't know if that's already existing there, but I find it always a very nourishing encounter, and with the empty spaces in the city, and actually with this kind of phenomena that those weeds, thank you for the new word, that those weeds are so resilient. You know, because sometimes you are in a place, it's actually beton, but then in the cracks, all of a sudden they are there, the weeds. So yeah, and thank you very much again. It was very inspiring. And yeah, Victoria, I would love to get in contact with you. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's do.
I also want to say thank you for this, because it's like there is no many opportunities in Kampala to get in touch with the artists. So having the opportunity to know what Irina is doing is amazing. It's a woman working with nature. So it's like, that's what we need in this moment, more women working with essential things. So that's really important, and I'm glad to be able to have this organization making this kind of conversations, because my question was related with if we are working as a group, if you are working as a group, because we cannot continue making our job alone. We need to connect, and we need to find this kind of people with different experience around the world. I'm from Colombia, I'm living in Uganda, but I shared with the Victoria and with Irina, artists that I know of in Colombia having the same questions, because we are human beings with the same questions. So imagine to connect with another person. I think, for example, in Victoria with the 4 seasons, but with Irina, we just drive and hot season. So it also impacts your work, because you have different types of plants. So I don't know, it's just so nice that you have the opportunity to connect with between you and with us, and sharing this amazing work that you are doing. So thank you.
Would anyone like to answer the question? I mean, it's amazing. Thank you so much for your comments and all that. Our 3 questions, anyone?
I just wanted to say, Juliana and I, she's on my screen, she's down there. Really, really happy that we took part. And thank you for giving us this opportunity. Like, it also brought, other things, other connections. And so, yeah, we didn't know about it 2 weeks ago. So it's maybe changing the world, who knows? And how amazing that these 2 were doing plants. Oh my God, like we didn't even know who the other artist was. So it just kind of shows also where the psyche is of the future at the moment, I think.
Yeah, I'm there. I would like to add that, like, always when you work with artists, especially young artists, you see what is happening in the world, right? Like, what is, you put your finger on it's not the trigger, right? The trigger is that makes things blow up. I mean, the other, like the wound. I have a German artist, a famous German artist, who said, like, show your wounds. And this happens when you work with young artists. This is like young, emerging artists. There's no ageism in it. Creative minds and people who like to experiment and to experience new skills and ways to collaborate or to engage. And yeah, we've missed that, because that's like, we're staying safe, we're staying home, we do all that what it's right, but we love to meet artists. Even that guy is here. Thank you so much. and I really don't want to lose contact. So let's find a way how we do it. I don't know, maybe not weekly, but like once a month or something, right?
Thank you so much. Sina, you unmuted yourself. Would you like to? I mean,
Yeah.
I would also, just in case anyone would like to still come up, feel free. Otherwise, I say a big thank you from my side, and then I'll pass it on to Sina again to close the event.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot, Lara, for the nice moderation to lead the conversation between Victoria and Irina. And yeah, it was very sweet, like how you just realize how connected they are. And it's crazy that you didn't know each other before, but seemingly your artwork is so much inspired by the same materials. And yeah, definitely we should all stay in touch, and it's good to continue these conversations also with regard to different topics, to always see, okay, we are in different continents right now, but we can have this kind of exchange, and you will find people who have same interests, who have same passions, and yeah, to keep this ongoing. So please like our Facebook page of Goethe-Zentrum, follow us on Instagram, the same with Silhouette Projects, the same with Pilotenküche from Leipzig. And yeah, so that you also get updated. And I think we are like the last group standing here. I wish you everyone a good evening, good night to Leipzig, to Germany, to Canada, to everywhere. And yeah, see you soon, hopefully. And bis bald.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just one quick question.
Yeah.
When is the next one?
Well,
Just so that we know when to look for it. Like,
well, we are starting with our regular program from March on, but we want to continue also an online format. So I think for that, we will just also talk in a little group and see how we can continue this kind of format. At the same time, you now also know Silhouette Project, so our idea is also as Goethe-Zentrum to bring you in contact with the art scene on the ground, and yeah, to see where the idea is developing. And for the next virtual gallery too, I think we still have to find a new date, but we will keep you updated, and we definitely will stay in touch.
We will definitely continue, and we will chat when and how we do this, and if we maybe make a regular program out of it. Yeah, and I would love Irina and Victoria to work together, and I loved your ideas of sending her the seeds, because here in Uganda everything is growing. So Irina can easily document for you how your plant is really growing, and yeah, maybe some kind of artwork is coming out of that, with the photos and the seeds, and I don't know, maybe you get inspired to work together from a distance, and maybe in the future also in real life, who knows? I would love that. Okay, thank you so much, everybody.
Then we are closing
this
meeting here, and yeah.
Thank you so much.
All the best.
Yeah. Thank you for everybody. Bye.